Here we go again, the game within a game. We're on episode 902, and we still don't know what's going on. Hey guys, I'm Joe Derick, and welcome back to Drag Us Weekly, a show where we recap RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 6, and we don't have the eliminated queen just yet, but our exit interview will be out shortly. So while we wait for that, let's recap what happened on this week's All-Stars 6. After we found out last week that Scarlet Envy was sent home, of course we had to count the lipstick. And this week, it seemed like Jan and Scarlet were tied. Now, of course, Jan was gagged, fans were gagged, and no one voted for Kylie, Sonique, Love. Now, I have to say, as I'm sure you've seen in other episodes, I have admitted that I am a friend of Jan's, but I'm going to come to her defense on this because she keeps being called extra. I feel like calling a drag queen extra is like telling an Olympian they're in great shape. Like, yeah, she might be that musical theater queen that like really steps out, this sort of like loud and boisterous, but these are drag queens. As Bianca Del Rio famously said in season 6, we're drag queens in a competition. Like, I just think calling someone extra on this show is like saying the sky is blue. That's just my opinion. All right, it's time to get into the challenge this week. All right, let's move on to the challenge this week. Was Ru-American Horror Story, which I feel like that's just a good theme for Ryan Murphy to do the next season of American Horror Story, have it just be all drag queens and the like who dies first and have it be a total murder mystery. I think that would be good. The rehearsals were interesting. I feel like one thing that I absolutely love is when Michelle Visage is totally acting like she's Glenn Close giving a masterclass. I mean, she is sitting there with her binder, giving line readings. At this point, or during this episode, as we all saw, she gets out of her chair to completely show Kylie Sonique Love how to do it. And with all due respect, Michelle showed her how to do it and basically gave Kylie Sonique Love the tools to really deliver it, which she ended up doing. Now, unfortunately, Akira was struggling this episode, as we saw during the rehearsals. What I thought was interesting is I think Akira is sassier and more fun just as Akira with no script, but the minute you give her a script and a line, I think she gets in her head a lot, as we saw, and she isn't really able to deliver what we want, which is a shame because, again, Akira is so sassy and funny as herself. I just wish she was able to bring that to this week's challenge. Also, shout out to Pandora Boxx, who I don't think has been given enough attention this season. She has been safe, but at the same time, nailing everything, specifically this week, giving us Frances Conroy realness in that red wig. I thought she was brilliant. I thought she had all the tools and all the good performances in Runway to have been on top this week, but again, just safe. But I just wanted to give her a shout out because I think secretly Pandora Boxx may end up being in our top and no one's expecting it. Also, another shout out to Raja O'Hara. I thought they were giving her a little bit too hard of a time with her voice that she chose. I know it was like sort of annoying and weird, but it's the acting challenge. Let her pick a voice, make a choice, and stick to it. Obviously, they let her do that because she wasn't really dropping it. But again, they always push them to go hard and go big, and she was. So I don't think there was anything wrong. And of course, Ginger, Erika, Jan, were obviously all three of them were great in this week's acting challenge. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top. As for this week's Workroom Chat, I thought it was interesting that Akira brought up that she wants to own her own funeral home. And at first I was like, this is so bizarre. What a weird dream to have. But then when I was watching the pit stop with Trixie and Peppermint this week, I was reminded, based on their conversation, that a drag queen funeral home is a genius idea. Like, if it were to open, I would want to be laid out at a drag queen funeral home. The makeup would be good, your hair would be good. I feel like the energy would be more fun than just a basic funeral home. So I think, Akira, you should stick with this. Other people come out with songs and t-shirts. Akira, open up your own drag queen funeral home, and I think it would be a huge success.
Actually, I might go to a drag queen's funeral home. That does sound like a lot of fun.
All right, let's move on and talk about this week's runway. All right, let's move on to this week's runway, which was Oh My Goth, which I just thought, I love that play on words. And I thought obviously it was the perfect runway for this week's challenge. Everything was sort of spooky ooky. It was giving me Sharon Needles realness. I thought that my favorite obviously was Kylie Sonique Love. I mean, she came out and gave us body, adi, adi. She looked absolutely incredible, but not only giving us body, but giving us goth. The leather, the pleather, and the peekaboo all over. Like, no one would really wear that except for like a sexy goth stripper. So I thought it was really on point. Second runner-up was definitely Jan for me. I thought she was like, she heard the word goth and like delivered. While some other people were just giving us like nice, sexy black outfits, Jan was like, we're gonna put the eye contacts in and go for it. I think my least favorite, and I love this queen so much, but my least favorite this week was RHOBH, because I felt like it was a little too New York Fashion Week and not enough goth. Like, she looked gorgeous. The hair was laid right, the outfit was stunning, her makeup was on point. Like, everything about it was perfect. I just didn't think it leaned goth enough. All right, now let's move on to see which queen came out on top. So of course, there was a top queen as always, and the queen that came out on top was Kylie Sonique Love. Justly so. I think the runway pushed her over the edge. She gave Jessica Lange realness in that performance. I mean, Michelle really helped her out, but I agree with Ross. Like, she took the tools that the judges gave her, but she brought herself there for that performance, because she didn't necessarily mimic what Michelle was doing. She was like, okay, I'll take that and do it my way. I loved that wig she wore, that blonde wig. She was definitely giving me supreme realness and definitely deserved the win this week. And of course, where there's a top, there is a bottom or two. And I thought it was pretty obvious that this week it was going to be Akira and RHOBH. I thought as the episode progressed, it was clear that those two didn't really rise to the occasion like the others. And again, we're at what, 6, 7, 8 queens left? Some 7? At this point, I think it's becoming more obvious who's not there. And I think fans and the judges are honing in on who's not really rising to this week's challenge and runway, because we all know someone has to go home. All right, let's move on to this week's lip sync. Obviously, Kylie Sonique Love won, and they revealed that her opponent would be lip sync assassin Manila Luzon. Manila Luzon is beyond a fan favorite of this franchise. I think the queens were happy to see her. Obviously, Ginger was happy to see her because she said that they bonded over Indian food. Okay, I don't know, but Manila looked amazing, and I thought everyone knew that she was going to be a threat. But I have to say, Manila, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I felt like you kind of threw the performance. I think I didn't love the song. I think it lent itself to Kylie's look for sure. But I felt like Manila's energy just wasn't as strong as it had been in the past. She has given amazing lip syncs in Drag Race history, but for some reason, this particular one wasn't for me. I wonder if the producers were like, give it to Kylie. Of course, Kylie came out on top yet again, won the lip sync, won the cash, and she revealed on her lipstick that she was sending home Akira. Now, Akira seemed, she was kind of all smile. She didn't seem as upset as some of the other eliminated queens, but we'll have to wait for our interview to see how she really feels. But here we go again, the game within a game. We're on episode 902, and we still don't know what's going on because RuPaul pops up on the screen, surprises the queens, and I think we started with 13, and now we're at 7. Like, we're halfway through here, more than halfway through. We need to find out what the game within a game is. Are we bringing a queen back? Are they voting for the winner? Is there something else? We need to find out. All right, that was my quick recap of this week's RuPaul's Drag Race All-Star 6. Don't miss our interview with Akira C. Davenport out soon. And as always, make sure to subscribe to Us Weekly's YouTube channel.